If you've been flying recently, you'll know that airports are as busy as ever, and as excited as we all are to start traveling again, naturally you're bound to run into some problems if you're traveling right now. One of the biggest problems that you might face are flight delays and lost bags, but don't worry, I'm about to show you how to make these problems hurt less when they inevitably happen. Now, when you're booking your next vacation, you're probably using a credit card, right? But did you know that the credit card you choose to use matters? Some credit cards, like this one, give you all types of insurance when you book your travel, and all you have to do is pay with your card. Let's start with one of the most useful insurance benefits, flight delay insurance. This will help cover your expenses like hotels, food, and transportation in the event that your flight gets delayed, which seems to be happening quite a lot these days. There's also a similar benefit, baggage delay insurance, which covers the purchase of any essential clothing or items in case your bag doesn't show up on the carousel after getting off the flight. Now, there are a few limitations to both of these insurances, and it depends on the card that you use. For example, my American Express Platinum card here offers $1,000 in insurance if I'm delayed for more than 4 hours. And in addition, there's also $1,000 in coverage if my checked bag is delayed by 6 hours or more. And yes, this means that if you had $1,000 worth of stuff in your suitcase that you needed during that time after the flight, and you had to go purchase and replace, then American Express will reimburse you for that $1,000 in damages that you incurred. Now, both of these insurance benefits require you to charge the full amount of the flight to your credit card in order for them to apply. So make sure to check that you're paying with a card that has insurance when you're checking out and buying your flight. But you might be wondering, what about if you're actually redeeming points for your flight instead of paying cash? Well, stick around till later on in the video. We're going to talk about what happens when you're using points and how to get insurance on those bookings too. Now, other than flights, what else should you put on your credit cards for insurance purposes? Rental cars. That's right, travel credit cards can cover car rental insurance too. Now, the type of coverage they provide isn't the most comprehensive, but at least you'll be fully covered in the case of major theft or damage to the vehicle. This is great if you're parking at your favorite Disneyland resort and you come back to find that your car's been scratched. As long as you decline the insurance offered by the car rental company, then your credit card insurance will automatically kick in as long as you had paid with the credit card. Now, as always, there are some limitations, and here are some of the most common exclusions for when your car rental might not be covered. If the car's retail price is too high and exceeds a certain minimum suggested retail price specified in the insurance policy, if the rental period is over a certain amount, usually 48 days, if you're driving while intoxicated, if you're using the wrong fuel type, if you're going off-roading, or if you just lost the keys. Now, some of the most common types of travel insurance that you might have heard of are trip cancellation and trip interruption insurance. Basically, these cover the non-refundable expenses that you would have incurred if you have to cancel your trip, return early, or delay your trip beyond the original return date for an unforeseen reason. The term trip cancellation refers to any incident that happens before you depart on your trip. After you leave on your trip, if an eligible incident happens, that's known as trip interruption insurance. Now, we gotta clear something up here. You can't just go change your plans for any reason and try to get reimbursed for it under trip cancellation or trip interruption. There's only a specific range of qualifying events and incidents that must happen for you to be covered. Before I get into that though, here's something you can do for no reason at all, besides supporting the channel of course, and that's hit the like button down below and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any future videos to help you travel better, especially if you've been finding the content valuable so far. Now, those qualifying events I mentioned, what are they? Trip cancellation and trip interruption covers everyday unexpected events, like medical emergencies, the death of a family member, a car breakdown causing you to miss your flight, or the government issuing a do not travel advisory for your destination after you've already booked the trip. If you can prove that one of the eligible events or incidents has happened, cause you to incur losses on non-refundable expenses, then you can submit those for reimbursement under trip cancellation or trip interruption. Not a bad perk that comes with a credit card, I must say. But remember, in order for any of these to kick in, you do have to charge the full cost of your flight to your credit card. And so now the question is, what happens if you actually redeem points for your flight and you're not actually paying a lot of cash at all? Are you still covered with credit card insurance in that case? Well, the answer is sometimes, and it depends on which credit card you use, and more specifically, which points program you're using to book the flight. Now, here's the key thing you need to know. Most credit cards that are associated with a points program will also give you insurance if you use that particular points program to book, but only if you're using those points directly. So take the American Express Platinum card, for example. If you're redeeming membership rewards points directly for airfare, then the insurance policies on this card will apply to that flight. However, let's say you're transferring membership rewards points one-to-one over to Aeroplan and then using Aeroplan points to book your flight, then the insurance policies on this card will not apply to the flight that you booked with Aeroplan because it's actually a separate loyalty program. program. Instead, if you're redeeming Aeroplan points, then charge your taxes and fees to an Aeroplan co-branded credit card by CIBC, TD, or American Express, and then that card's insurance policies will apply to your Aeroplan ticket. But what about for loyalty programs that don't have a co-branded credit card here in Canada? Let's say you're redeeming American Airlines Advantage miles or Singapore Airlines KrisFlyer miles. What are you going to do if you want to have insurance coverage on this flight? Well, that's where we see the power of the credit cards by BMO Bank of Montreal. Never thought I'd say that sentence. Many of BMO's premium travel credit cards offer insurance coverage as long as you charge the full or partial cost of the flight to your card. While the vast majority of Canadian credit cards require you to charge the full cost of the flight to your credit card for insurance to kick in, the BMO premium travel credit cards are unique in that they allow you to charge the full or partial cost of the ticket in order to get the insurance benefits. And so what that means is that you can always just charge the taxes and fees portion of any flight that you book with any loyalty currency onto your BMO credit card, and you'll get the insurance benefits from that credit card, which despite BMO's overall reputation are still fairly strong. Now, as if all those types of insurance didn't make you feel safe enough, there's one final type of insurance, arguably the most important that we haven't talked about yet. And that's of course out-of-province emergency medical travel insurance, and there's something very special about this that we're going to touch upon in just a few moments' time. These policies cover unforeseen circumstances related to your health when you travel outside of the province. It doesn't cover any pre-existing conditions. But if you get sick or injured when you travel, then emergency medical insurance will cover things like hospital visits, dental injuries, and your flights to return back home. As part of this overall service, the insurance provider can also connect you with medical professionals in your area. When we were in New Zealand and my partner Jesse had an ear infection, we called up American Express and asked them to find us a doctor in the little town of Te Anau right by Milford Sound, and to our surprise, they managed to find the exact clinic that was open the next day, and we didn't have to stress about finding that clinic on our own. Each credit card is different in terms of the maximum amount of coverage that it offers in case your medical bills runs up to the millions or 5 million range, and there's differences in terms of the duration of your trip for which medical expenses are covered. Some policies cover trips for only 3 days, some for about 2 weeks, which is about the industry standard, and one of the best credit cards in Canada, the HSBC World Elite MasterCard, is a standout choice in this regard, offering up to 31 days of medical coverage on your out-of-province trips. And yes, emergency medical insurance on your credit card will now cover treatment costs if you happen to contract COVID-19 on your travels, but it won't cover any quarantine costs. You'll have to get separate insurance policies to cover that. But there's one thing about emergency medical insurance on credit cards that makes it the absolute best type of travel insurance if you ask me, and that's the fact that you don't actually need to charge any portion of your trip to the card for the emergency medical insurance to kick in. That's right, you'll get the medical insurance benefits as long as you're a card holder. You don't actually need to pay for the trip with your card at all. And that also means that if you hold multiple credit cards with emergency medical travel benefits, then the card with the most favorable policy automatically applies whenever you're traveling, because remember, there's no requirement to pay for the card. You get the coverage as long as you hold the card. Now, make sure to always read the terms and conditions whenever you're dealing with anything related to insurance to understand what you're covered for and what you're not covered for. Make sure to always keep your receipts and your documentation, and make sure if you're looking for a credit card with good insurance and a record high welcome bonus, then check out this video on screen right now to learn all about the RBC Avion credit cards and their welcome bonus of 55,000 points to help you travel the world along with a strong insurance package.